Ao vivo!
Live.
Ao vivo! E meu vizinho tá com a furadeira ligada, pra ficar divertido.
Ao
Já mandei
vivo!
no grupo lá.
Eu preciso dizer uma coisa. Eu preciso mudar a música dessa intro, William, porque eu acho ela muito devagar e vai me dando vontade de acelerar. Então, por favor, faça aí.
Vai dar um ataque de ansiedade, né? Bom, boa noite, internet, boa noite, Brasil. A gente está começando
Nossa,
mais um
boa noite,
Nights.
boa noite,
né?
internautas.
Boa noite, internautas. Boa noite. Boa noite, Magu. Boa noite, Jesus. Boa noite, Oberdan. Good night, Alejandro. O Kainan tá dando boa noite no chat, primeira pessoa ali. Eu vou fazer o dever de casa aqui e divulgando lá nos grupos, tá, pessoal? Quem que pode começar aí puxando enquanto eu vou
Ok,
lá
então nós vamos trocar agora para o inglês, porque nós temos um convidado muito especial. So, Alejandro, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, thank you to get the invite to be part of the Monkey Night. So my name is Alejandro Ruiz. I'm from Mexico, and I'm really happy to be here. I'm part of the ArtTouch team. I'm a software engineer. I have been working with the Xamarin framework for a while, almost 8 years fighting with this awesome framework. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really glad to share a little bit of my knowledge with the Brazilian community.
Did you bring tequila?
I don't know if it's possible to send like a virtual tequila.
Yeah, great. And I know that you will talk about a very, very, very hot topic that is new in Xamarin. If I'm not wrong, it entered in experimental in Xamarin.Forms 4.7 or 4.6. I really don't remember. It was so fast.
Yeah, actually, it started on 4.7, if I'm not wrong.
4.7, right. So, if you can start, the stage is yours, and let's see what the goodness you bring to us.
Sure.
So, we'll just switch to português a little bit. Pessoal, quem tiver perguntas pode mandar no chat em português mesmo, que a gente tenta direcionar pro Alejandro durante os momentos propícios da live, tá? Lembrando que boa parte do conteúdo vai ser em inglês, mas pode interagir com a gente em português ali no chat que a gente vai respondendo, tá bom?
Ou espanhol.
Ou espanhol também.
Sure. Okay, so let me share my screen. Just wait me 1 second.
Jesus is having beer. You should be having wine.
Oh, it's too hot for wine. Minas Gerais is like hell today.
But he can turn easily, right? Beer, wine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just wololo. It's done.
Okay, just let me know when you can see the screen. I think that I need to.
It's my fault. It's my fault. No, I have to add you to
yeah, but it's sharing right now. I can't see it.
Yeah, it's working.
Okay, so let me start here. Awesome. Okay, so as Alexander said, we will talk today about a really hot topic on the Xamarin.Forms stack. It's a really cool feature. It's something new, and I think it will change the way that we think about the framework, the way that we create UI elements, the way that we create really beautiful applications. So let's start first talking about what is this new feature, which is Xamarin.Forms shapes. Okay. So first of all, let's see what's happening in the past when we tried to use or create really custom controls. It was really painful. I don't know if maybe some people remember in the previous years or months, if you want to create a custom control, you will need to simulate. First of all, if you want to create a really custom control, you need to simulate like the forms element. For example, sometimes you use like the box view to simulate just a rectangle with a color, which is impacting the app performance because you are instantiating a new control with a lot of sets of configuration just to put something really simple. Also, if you want to create a really customized control, you will need to create a custom renderer, which is like the probably was like the only way to create a specific implementation per platform. You need to create the implementation for iOS and your implementation for Android, or even other platforms if you are programming, for example, UWP or Mac OS. It was really painful to create a custom implementation per platform. Also, if you want to use some other controls, you maybe take a look to a third-party component, which is something cool because you can use something that is already created. We need to make sure that that we are using all from that third-party component, because sometimes we can include a third-party component just to use a small amount of the whole feature set that is used on that component, which is not good, because if we add a lot of NuGet packages, we're increasing our app side, and sometimes that some of that code is never used on our application. So that is something that we need to think about it when we are adding some third-party component. And well, the other point is that we don't require like a native implementation anymore to create a lot of new components or a lot of fancy UI elements. Now we can create all of them by using the Xamarin.Forms framework without any other things to be added. So that's basically how it was the life before shapes. It was really painful. Okay, so let's start with shapes. Shapes. Something that we need to take in count is that this feature was added on the 4.7, the version 4.7 of Xamarin.Forms. So you will require to at least have that version added into a project. And also, right now it's an experimental flag because we have some kind of bugs with the implementation. Even with that, from where I tried, I think that everything is working fine. There's some specific things that are causing issues, but almost everything is working as expected. So this is something that also we need to take in account, that this is an experimental, and in the next version, if I'm not wrong, which is the Xamarin.Forms 5, this flag will be removed. So just to keep in mind that soon we will get like a really stable version of this feature. Well, the 3 point that we have here is that we have some pre-built shapes definitions, so we don't need to create like something from the scratch. We have the most common elements like the line, ellipse, polyline, polygon, and rectangles. So you are able to create those kind of UI elements with a very simple way. And well, let's take a look to the shape class, which is like the the root or this new shape feature. First of all, we have the aspect. Basically, this property is to define what is the way that we will filling the space into the specific container. We have 4 of them. We have fill, we have none, we have uniform, and uniform to fill. This is basically something similar from what we use for the images. I don't know if you remember that for images we have several types of ways to display the image into the space. We can fill, we can basically tell, okay, just take the space that you want, or if we want to have like a uniform implementation or the way that shape is displayed into the container. And we have also the uniform to fill, which is basically taking the space that it corresponds to fill the container. And well, we have also the fill property. This is important because we have here another new feature, which is brush. Basically, brush is the next level to define, in this case, any color with a different pattern. So we can have like a radial color pattern or linear color pattern, or even like the standard pattern that we already have, which is like the flat. Let's say flat, which is filling everything with a single color. We have also the stroke property, which is basically this kind of the same of what we have for fill, but in this case, if we want to have a stroke for our shapes, if we want to have a plain color, if we want to have a pattern, we're able to set that by using this stroke property. We have the stroke dash array. Basically, this property allows us to represent dashes. If you want to use dash over the stroke that is drawing our shape, we can use this property to have those kind of dash over the outline of our container. We have also the stroke dash offset. If we want to have like a different distance where the dash begin and ends, we are able to set that using this property. And also we have the stroke line cap. If we want to use like a different type of line for a segment, we have the flat, we have the square, and we have round to use on that property. And also another important property is the stroke thickness, which is really standard. When we try to draw something, we can specify what is the thickness that we want to use for the stroke. That is basically the root implementation of the shape class, and all those properties will be very, very useful, and you will be very familiar with them when you start working with shapes. Okay, let's go to the next one. And okay, let's start looking at all the kind of pre-built shape that we have initially. In this case, we have the rectangle shape, and it's really simple. Basically, these shapes allow us to draw a rectangle or a square by setting the width, the height, the fill color that we want to use, and also the stroke that we want to have. And it's very simple to implement. I don't know if you remember at the beginning of the talk, I was telling you that commonly to achieve this kind of behavior, we use like the box view just to put an element and draw a color inside of it. But now we have this rectangle definition, which is in the root. His base class is the shape, and we have all those properties that we already talked. And also for this specific shape, we have some other properties. In this case, we have the fill, the stroke, color that we want to use, the thickness, And also, as all the other UI elements, you are able to set the width and height. And you have also the other UI property that you are probably familiar with it, which is, for example, here in the original options, if you want to center horizontally the element. So you are able to use all those known properties in this rectangle definition. Let's move to the next one, which is the ellipse. This is basically a definition to draw an ellipse or a circle, and it's almost the same as we have for the rectangle. The only basically all properties that we are very seeing is the one that we have here. The only difference is that instead of drawing a square, we will have here a circle or an ellipse, but it's really simple to use. Also, this one. Okay, let's move to the next one, which is line. Line is also a really common and useful shape, and it can represent several things. In this case, if you want to write like a simple line, you are able to set, for example, if you want to have like a round end and a star, you're able to use the stroke line cap in order to have those rounded corners for the line. And in this case, it's a kind of different from the other item. Instead of having explicit the height and weight, we will need to set the point 1 and point 2, which is point 1 basically is the start of the line, and point 2 is the end of the line. In this example, basically we are telling that the start point, it will be 0, 0, and the end line will be 50, 100. And basically, for the example, the first line that we have at the top is the one that is defined on this piece of XAML. And as you can see here, you can use this simple line definition to create something like, for example, a chart. If you want to have a bar chart, you are able to create very easily by using the line definition. As for example, that we have here in the bottom, the green lines. So this is a kind of example that you can use to create some charts. And let's move to the polyline, which is really similar from the line. The only difference is that instead of having one initial point and one like an end point, in this case we have a collection of points. Basically, we're setting that collection, and the framework automatically will draw all the lines that are required to fill the specific point that we want to use. And again, you can use this to draw very simple line definitions, or if you want, you can create, for example, as we have here also another kind of chart, which is pretty common. So all these items are like able to draw whatever you want. So this is the one that I have here. There's only a few examples, but you can draw whatever you want with those elements. Also, we have the polygon, which are kind of similar from the polyline. The only difference is the polygon is used to draw a specific form. In this case, for example, we have a triangle, so you can use any collection of points to draw a specific form or shape with a problem. And we have the exact same properties that we already take a look. And we have the points property, which is a collection of points that you will use to draw that specific shape. So that's basically the polygon definition. Let's move to geometries. The geometry will help us to draw any 2D shape, no matter the direction, no matter the definition that you want to use. The geometry will help us to have like a free form. If you want to drop a circle, if you want to drop whatever you want, you are able to use it. And this geometries is basically something that is used, for example, for SVG, with which basically the SVG is a collection of geometry. So with this geometry implementation, you are able to draw any SVG image that you have. You can easily export it and use it to the Xamarin.Forms. Okay, we have also the new clip property. This is really interesting because something that it was really common is that at some point we need to clip our UI elements. For example, you want to have a circular button, but sometimes you need to embed that button inside in a different container, and that container will take the space that you want. In this case, for example, the circle. But with the geometry definitions, this is not required anymore. So you're able to basically cut any item in the way that you want it. In this case, we have, for example, a very nice image at the top with some circles there. And basically, it's what we have here. We are dragging that circles and putting our image in a really fancy way. This is one example. The other example that I have a little bit in the bottom is the hello circular button. So also, if you want to cut or if you want to clip any UI element, you can use any of the definition that we probably use. If you want to have a triangle, if you want to have any other kind of shape, you are able to do it by using the clip property inside of all the UI elements. The good thing is that this new clip property is on the visual element, which is the base class for all the UI elements on Xamarin.Forms. So you can use it on any visual element. Okay, we have also here how to use SVG. As I mentioned, the definitions are basically the same. We have here a very simple example, which are using the pad. And if we go a little bit back, you can see that here in the geometry, we have the new pad class. And you can set that SVG definition using the data property. In this case, we are using the Ellipse geometry, but we are able to put that specific SVG definition inside of the data property with a problem, because the XAML already have a converter that will translate all string definition into the correct base classes needed definition. So we are able now to use the SVG. And well, we can move to the code if you want. Let me go back here. Let me show you how it works. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a question from Ricardo on the chat, and I will just rephrase. There is any performance comparison between shape and Skia? Do you know about it? Who has more? It's better, I think. Code.
I think that right now we don't have a comparison there. What I can tell you is that these new shapes implementation using the standard native implementation. For example, for iOS, we have using the I forget the name. Is the layer definition? Yeah, is the layer definition, which is the very native way to transform any UI element, which is cool because it's using like the very low level implementation to perform it. It's a kind of different from Skia, because Skia is a totally other implementation, different from what is used natively. But that's a really good question. I will try to search if someone already created some kind of performance test between both. But I don't think it will have like a really different impact between using one or the other one. The only difference, as I mentioned, is if you are using Skia, it will increase your application size.
Yeah. So I think on iOS is just Bezier. I think some Bezier path, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just guessing.
that's correct.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you. I think you answered the question. I mean, it's too early to have something comparing some benchmarks between both, right?
Yeah, correct.
So go ahead.
Okay, so let me share here the code. Let's see if I can apply here as soon. Okay, so as I mentioned, I have here a very simple example of all the items that we already take a look. So let me just run to show you how it works, and after that I will show you how it looks in code. Let's start with the first one, which is the rectangle. And well, we have the simple rectangle. We have a square with a border, and also we have here a mix of using a square. Sorry, a square with a corner radius, and also we have here using the new way of defining the background. In this case, we have um, two different green colors using as a background, and I will show you right now how it works. Okay, so let me move to the rectangle page here, and well, let's see the first one, which is the orange. This one, the first one that is displayed. It's a very simple definition. We have the fill property here, which is orange red. I'm using the standard Xamarin.Forms color. As you can see, you can use the standard colors or a brush definition. We have with request, hey request, and also the horizontal options to center in the horizontal way. So the next one is the simple square with border. So eventually we are using the fill property. We are using the stroke property. In this case, just to set in black. The thickness of the line. This case is 5. Is 5, and also we are using the same width and height in order to form this square. And the next one is the one that has corner radius, and also the brush for the, in this case, the fill color. So as I mentioned, we are able to say the radius if we want to use the radius X and the radius Y. To in this case, we're using the same value in order to have the corner radius in the same size for all the edges. And for the fill property, we have this new liner grading brush. As I mentioned, these new brushes allow us to not having a simple way to define a color. If you want, you can define several kind of types of background colors. In this case, we have a very simple liner with a starting point. We have also the end point, and also we have the gradient stops, which is basically the definition for each color. In this case, we have this light green, and also we have some other strong green, and also the offset. In this case, where we want to start and or stop the color. So we have that offset property, and we have this is like the final result, which is something really cool. I really like this new brush feature also. Okay, that's basically the rectangle definition. Let's move to the ellipse. It is almost the same thing. As I mentioned, you only need to define very simple properties in order to draw it. Let me open that. I will put a little bit more zoom over the code. And well, we have here the first one, which is using the field property, using the same orange red color. We have this width request and height request. And with those properties, we are able to drop that ellipse. If we want to drop a circle, we need to use the exact same definition. The only difference is that we are using the exact same width and height in order to draw a perfect circle. In this case, we are using also the stroke, which is black with a 5-point thickness. And even if we want to have a more complex definition of a circle or ellipse, we can use, in this case, this is something like more complex definition, but as you can see, it's really, really simple. We have here the stroke definition. In this case, we want to be a black stroke. We want a 5-point thickness. And also we have here the dash configuration. In this case, the dash array, how we want to have that dash array, and also the offset of those dashes. And that will help us to have those small dashes over the circle. So basically here is the magic to do that. And also, as I mentioned, we can use a different type of brushes. In this case, we're using a radial gradient brush, using something really similar from what I used for the linear one. The only difference is that now we need to define in a circle mode. And if you notice, we have in this case like the light green at the center of the circle, and it's because we have here defined what will be like the center. In this case, where will be the initial color. In this case, we are in the almost the center. That's why you're using dot phi, which is basically telling in the X position we want at the center, and also the Y position we need to have in the center. That's basically what is indicated here. And also the radius. Basically, the radius will indicate us how much space that we want to use over the circular brush. In this case, we are using just dot 3, which is like 30% of the radius. And okay, and now we have here the gradient stuff for each color, and it's almost the same definition that we used for the rectangle one. That's basically how it works, the ellipse and the circle shape. And now let's move to the line. Line also is very, very simple. So you mentioned line is used to set the initial position and the end position. In this case, we have the position 0 as the initial, and as I mentioned, the end is on the X. The X position will be 50, and the Y position will be 100, which is from here in the X position 50, and in the Y position 100, which is here. And also we are using the stroke line capture run. I don't know if you can see it here. Let me see if I can apply a little bit of zoom here. Yeah, basically that line. I don't know if it worked.
It's working.
Awesome. Yeah, that's basically how
Alejandro,
yeah.
Alexandre, it's seeing and he's confirmed that's working.
Cool. Okay, that's the simple line. And also for the dash line, it's almost the same as we used previously. The only difference is that we need to define the, in this case, the stroke dash array and the struct dash offset. And basically, we will have this kind of dash definition of a line. And as I mentioned, if you want to have more complex definition of an UI element, in this case, for example, simulating some lines in SAF, or so for example, here we are the stack layer container, and we have a collection of those lines simulated that we have at different levels. So you can create a really easy implementation by using those line definition with a more complex container. It can be a grid, it can be a stack layout, so you can use whatever container you want, and you can use each line definition as you can use any other UI element. So that's basically the line and how it works. And the polyline is also simple. It's just to set a collection of points. That is the only difference. So we can define like the X position and Y position separated by comma, and also you need to define a space, then move to the next, in this case, the next point. And as you can notice also here we have a comma. So if you have the comma, it will take as a new coordinate here. So basically here we have all those small points. Let me apply the zoom again. And each definition basically is each point that we have over this shape. And that's how it works, the polyline. And as I mentioned, you can create any kind of chart if you want to create this chart. You are able to use it. So it's really, really simple. Basically, that chart is created by this code, which is, as I mentioned, really a simple way to create your own custom charts. Let's move to the next one, which is Polygon. Polygon is almost the same as we already looked with the polyline. The only difference is that we have the closed shape. Let's say the closed shape, because if we put a set of points, we need to close. So, and this is like automatically performed by the framework. Let's say if you put only 3 points for this rectangle, it automatically closes the rectangle for you. So as you can see here, we have only three points, which are basically the points 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3. And as you can see, it automatically closes the shape for you, which is cool. And also you have different kind of ways to draw those polygons. We have here something more complex, for example. And we have also the fill rule. Is basically the way that we want to fill our shape. We have non-zero, we have even node. Basically, this is something also used for the SVGs. If you are familiar with the SVG syntax, you are able to see those property uses there. And well, that's basically the polygon definition. Let's move to the geometries. Basically, the geometry is the very root definition for each shape. And as you can see here, we have several of them. You can draw whatever you want. If the thing that I displayed you previously is not enough, you can draw whatever you want. If you have something in mind, I'm pretty sure that you're able to draw that thing that you have in mind with shapes. We have circles, we have lines, we have rectangles, we have some Bezier segments, the line segment, poly-Bezier segment to draw something more complex, polyline segment. Basically, it's the root of the shape that we already take a look. But in this case, if we want to create something more complex, we are able to use all those geometries definition. We have also some quadratic bases. So it's really interesting. So you can use any of those implementations to create your own custom view. And we have here also the clip. As I mentioned, probably is something that most of us we will use at some point, especially if we want to use a circle image. The circle image is a totally a good story, because I remember that at the beginning we used a third-party component created from Jen Montemagno, and then we have like the way to create a circle by using the frame component, if I'm not wrong. But at the end, we are trying to avoid those things. We are trying to add new components or new NuGet package editor project. We are trying to use extra containers, because any extra container will impact in the performance. It will allow more memory, allocate more memory. And by using this new clip property, you don't need to add any other UI elements. So you can use the clip property, set whatever you want as the clip, the whatever geometry that you want to use. In this case, we're using a simple circles, which is like the basic one. But you can use whatever you want. As I mentioned, if you want to have like a word here, let's say if you want to use, you can write Xamarin and have a different image per every word. So you can use it without problem. In this case, we have the circle image. We have more circles if you want to use a different shape. And also the circle button. As you can see, you can apply to any element. You can apply to a label. You can apply to a frame. You can apply a button. You can apply to an image. So you are able to apply to any UI element. And as you can see, it works as is expected. For example, circle button, and it having the behavior that we expect for a button. And that's basically for clips. Let me show you the code. As I mentioned, it's really simple. The only thing is that we need to set the clip definition, and also how we can use. You can use any of the items that I displayed on geometries. You can use a path. You can use a rectangle geometry. You can use whatever you want. If you want more complex definitions, you can use any of those geometries. For example, this path geometry. So this is something that probably is not used by the developer, because probably the most common case will be to use the SVG definition. At the end, the SVG is basically what we have here. Under the scenes, the SVG string will be converted in all those path definitions. And we can use it in whatever we want. We can use it on a path. We can use it on a control if we want to use the clip property. And that's basically what we have for the clip. So the next thing that we will take a look is the SVG definition. And it's really simple. I will show you here. We have here a heart, a red heart here. But also I have another items to show you. I have here an SVG, a chicken SVG. And let me apply a little bit some here. As you can see here, it's very similar from what we already take a look. We have the path definition. We have the data property that is here in SVG is used as D. But basically, we have here a string. So we can translate that definition to the Xamarin.Forms by just copying the SVG data definition. You can just copy here And I have here several examples, as I mentioned. I have the heart. I have here a little tackle. So let's use the fill. Let's use yellow. Just save. I have disabled the hot reload, but let's run again. So you can see it, how it changed. Okay, so if I go here to the SVG, you can see that now I have here yellow tackle. So, and I basically downloaded an SVG, a random SVG from the web, and just set the properties that I want. Just to set the data property and just copy the SVG data that is on the SVG file. So that's the way that we can implement right now the SVGs on our application. It is not straightforward, but probably in the future we will be able to see maybe convert or read that specific SVG file and convert to the data definition. It is possible actually right now, but it's not explicit implemented. So I mean, you can create your own logic to convert an SVG file into a collection of paths or any kind of shape that you want to use. But yeah, basically we are able to use any SVG right now without having a third-party component. That's how the SVG works right now, and we can have those kind of shapes. So let me use, for example, here I have black fill. Can you probably hear green in order to show you the other elements that I have here in this screen. And as you can see, all of them are copy from different SVG files. So we have here different shapes that are using the SVG definition. And that's basically how it's more easily. Probably some designer have like a very experienced by exporting using SVG, and you can basically use that definition on your application by just copy the SVG text file into the data definition here. And that's basically what we have here for the shape for this session. Here's some recommendation. You want to set a border color, where you can use a box view, you can use frame, you can use rectangle element, border width, you can use any of those three elements. And for example, if you want to clip, the recommendation is to use a rectangle definition. And if you elements will have like another view inside of it, it will contain another UI element. The recommended element is the frame, because it's able to contain any other UI element inside. And if you want to have corner radius, it's recommended to use box view or the frame. And if you want to have shadow, this is the standard, you can use the frame. Shadow is a little bit complex, especially with Android. I think iOS is more pretty straightforward to configure the shadow and all the configuration. But for example, in Android, basically we only have the elevation property, which is a standard for material design, but it's not it is not flexible as, for example, is the layer definition using the iOS native implementation. And that's basically the recommendation that we have. And well, I think what I show you is very, very simple. But if you go and get some inspiration over the network, you can get in your mind a lot of things that you can create with these new shapes. It's a really powerful tool. It's a really powerful addition to the framework. Here we have some examples to show you how you can manage those UI elements. It's really, really beautiful to perform those UI elements. And I have here some resources if you want to take a look. Here we have like the documentation. As I mentioned, it's still in preview, so it's good if you want to use it, to take a look here in order to see if anything is updated, if a property changed the name, or if a property is removed by another property. So you can go to the next resources. And also I added the Javier Suarez GitHub repo, which is the Xamarin.Forms good looking UI. That's a really cool and interesting repo. You can find a lot of examples how to use shapes on your applications, and you can get inspired by those elements. And well, if you want to download the example and the code, you can easily scan the QR code that I have here, and you will be redirected to the repository where I uploaded the example that I used display. And you can download also the slide deck from there. And that's basically, I want to say thank you all of you. Thank you to be invited on the Monkey Night. I'm really, really happy to be here. And obrigado. If you have any questions, I will be really happy to answer. Yeah.
So and thank you, Alejandro. What's awesome. Let me add Albert on here. And I will just switch to português.
Okay.
Pessoal, quem tiver perguntas pode enviar para a gente aí, fica à vontade. A gente ainda tem um tempinho aí pro Alejandro responder, tá? A gente respondeu a pergunta sobre performance, acho que ficou claro. Então, quem quiser aí aproveitar esse tempinho para ver perguntas, pode enviar. Fica à vontade.
Alejandro, I have a question for you.
Sure.
I didn't use the shapes yet and brushes, but since you are using this a lot, do you see any kind of limitation of these features, or like a scenario that is better to use Skia Sharp instead of shapes?
I think there's a few known issues, especially with the circle, the ellipse definition on Android. On Android, there's some issues with that circle definition that sometimes is causing some crashes. But those items are already addressed. I mean, there's some PRs to have that fixed. So I'm pretty sure that if you install the preview of Xamarin.Forms, those items are already fixed. But that's the only thing that I found like a big issue right now, taking in account that is a preview. Besides that, it's working really, 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 really cool. And I think one of the advantage between using shapes from Skia is that it automatically resizes and scale the visual element based on the screen's density. That is something that with Skia you need to define manually. In this case, we have under the scene automatically set to scale using the screen size and also the scale format that is having every device. That is really, really cool because it will automatically resize all the elements based on the device specification.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I have his opinion. Matthew was in the chat. I don't know if he is also watching, but Skia is very powerful and is GPU optimized. But I think that the main reason for that is not only to have an independent graphical API, but also a high performance drawing. So it's really used in Flutter today, but the main goals of Flutter, for example, was to be a 2D game engine. So I think that at least for 90% of the cases, the shapes will give us all the possibilities and with a very good performance. But if you need more power for what we are drawing and a lot of animations and so on, maybe you need to switch to something like Skia to be cross-platform, or go deep into the platforms and use Metal for iOS or OpenGL, things like that. I don't know, it's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm really agree with that. Shapes is used to draw to the element. If you want to have something more complex, like a 3D definition, maybe using another framework will be required. But if you want to draw something really simple, definitely Shapes is the best option right now.
So we don't have any questions on the chat. I think that this means that you gave an awesome talk, because no one has any doubts, right? I mean,
I hope so.
I know, don't worry. Yeah. And also this is recorded, so a lot of people can see this in near future. So I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
So thank you, Alejandro. Thank you for being here with us. I miss you, guy. I miss you. Our talks about beer, tacos, tequila, and
that's always a good topic to talk about.
Yeah. We can host a live just to talk about food and beer and beverage, right?
Yeah, post Corona, I'm sure that Alejandro will visit us in Brazil, so we'll have plenty of time to, of course, he's going to bring tequila for us and maybe mezcal, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, or maybe we could visit him in Mexico, and I die for Mexican food, so yeah, it would be a good trip as well. But let's target for 2022, 2023, something like that, right?
Definitely.
Please let me know when Alejandro is here in Brazil, so I can join your
for sure
to party, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
So that's it. Obrigado, pessoal aí que acompanhou a gente. Lembrando que na semana que vem a gente tem uma talk bem bacana sobre teste unitário com o nosso grande Magozinho. Vai deitar nos testes aqui. Então, às 8 de novo. E aí eu não vou errar dessa vez o horário do Twitch, divulgar errado, tá? Tava pensando uma coisa e a coisa tá na cabeça e acabei escrevendo o horário errado. Então, da próxima vez eu prometo que eu faço certinho.
Relaxa, cara, relaxa. Não, eu só fiquei preocupado porque eu tinha marcado um horário com o Alejandro e fiquei com medo de ter falado errado. Não. Alejandro, again, thank you so much, guy. E, pessoal, semana que vem não percam que se essa aqui foi boa, a da semana que vem vocês vão falar por que eu não fiquei assistindo só da semana passada. Enfim.
Isso, a gente tá subindo o nível a cada talk, assim, tá escalando, né?
Cara, tá me dando uma baita resposta. Já tô com frio na barriga já.
A responsabilidade do próximo tá crescendo.
Que língua que você vai falar, Alexandre? Porque já tem
em braille.
Português, inglês. Tá.
Vou dar talk em braille. Vai ter só pontinho no PowerPoint. Eu vou colocar uma fonte braille no meu Visual Studio também. Vai ser sensacional.
Alejandro, I hope you understand everything that we're saying. So I'd like to give my thank you. Thank you for accepting the invitation and coming here to talk to the Brazilian community. We hope to, see you again. If you have any other topics to share, you're welcome, more than welcome here. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you so much.
Alcohol. I understand alcohol. Oh, what?
So
Sounds
that's it.
good.
Bye, everyone. Tchau, tchau.
Bye
pessoal.
bye.
Falou,
Thank you
galera.
so much. Bye.
O Alejandro vazou mesmo, hein?